and gentlemen, and welcome to the CCN News Media On Point. And this evening, we're on point with a variety of topics, starting with, let's see, banks and department stores hiring internationally and offshore, like customer service workers. And Sandra,
Yes, Wanda.
I want you all to introduce yourselves and then we'll get into the meat of the subject. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm Sandra Campbell. I'm a retired federal employee. Just enjoying my retirement and chilling.
And chilling.
Chilling.
Brian, Brian, did you hear her say chilling?
Oh yeah, I got it. I got it.
Especially when it's 99 degrees outside.
You don't want to go out in that heat, that's for sure. Tell us who you are, Brian.
I am Brian Vickers. I'm a photojournalist, and I am an advocate against wrongful incarceration and a writer.
Ah, I talked to Madeline today, and she's all into her clemency report. So, have you been working with her with your?
She and I, we have crossed that bridge once before, but yeah, we have, and
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe y'all do some things together, huh?
yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice. Okay. Well, these topics were brought to my attention by our very lovely Miss Sandra Campbell, and it's just when I read some of the stuff about how our businesses are moving jobs offshore. Is that right, Sandra? Am I saying it correct?
Exactly. Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly what's
Oh,
happening.
okay, so I'm gonna bring up this information that you guys can see and just reference a couple of things. This is the one, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a sampling of US companies that send call center work offshore. Have you ever, Brian, when you make calls, like for example, to your insurance company, are they always are the people that answer the phones and or that you talk to about your situation, are they always United States citizens? Are they all, can you tell from the diction whether they're?
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of there are times where the person that answers the phone or that I get transferred to is
Yes,
not always American. They're not
right.
always from this country.
Yeah, I've had that experience as well. Here it says too big to fail banks. Many of the banks that receive federal government bailouts during the financial crisis are among the largest companies sending U.S. call centers offshore. Oh my goodness. I
But see,
know.
and here's the terrible part of this. Sorry.
Okay.
Um, Here's the terrible part of this that I've experienced when I've called. I can tell you some of the first peoples that started doing it on a regular basis were was really actually Macy's and Target, and I mean they were doing it. When I say regular, it was just like any time of day that you called during COVID,
Hmm.
you were subject to get an offshore customer service center.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem then was what they tried to say where people were not at home or not in the office. And
Hmm.
so they set this up. But as you can see in these articles depict of how they were doing this in 2013 and 2014.
Hmm.
And many of these places now are using the same customer service. Different banks are using other banks' call centers, very similar to what they used to do here when they were called call centers, because first they were telemarketers before. And now it's gotten to the point where it's becoming the norm. And the
Yeah.
problem is not the fact that, they sent the jobs offshore, which that is a problem and a huge concern. And it's a shame when you got none of these vowed Republicans on the line tonight, because they're part of the problem also.
Hmm.
Is the fact that when you try to get services, they're not familiar with the product.
Yes.
They're not familiar with our language, because again they know English as an ESL, which again as a second language. That's what it means, English as a second language. So their understanding and interpretation of English is limited. And
Yeah,
those of us who know, who live here, and again, who again speak English and can understand too, you can have five different words with the same meaning. And
right.
you can have, and again, our homonyms are things too that they don't know the difference between heard and heard. You're talking to them about, you're saying you're talking about a herd of cattle. They're talking to you about you heard the cattle, like you, with your ear. I mean, and again, they have set them up. They don't have supervisors, so some of them are not familiar with that term,
Right.
because what they've done, they've called you can get transferred back to a U.S. customer service rep, but they're calling them experts. They're calling them escalation experts. Like we
Yeah.
used to hear them say, we're going to escalate this complaint up, or escalate this concern, or escalate this request. We knew then it was going to get to the middle manager or someone higher, again, supervisor, someone with more skills that could understand. Now, escalation expert just means they're going to give you somebody that's US based.
Right.
And then they have very limited access to our account information. So they are very limited in what they can help us with. And sometimes it winds up being a huge waste of time. And
Yep.
you can be on the phone for 15, 20, 30 minutes. That used to take maybe 5 minutes at the most to address, to express your concern. A simple thing, website not acting right, or your account. If you can't get into your account for whatever reason, because sometimes automation doesn't work, but
Look.
they don't
Yeah.
have a clue and don't understand what you're talking about. And it's just really annoying, and they don't really care about we, the customer. This is saving them money, as these articles demonstrate.
Yeah.
And even they're getting subsidized, and we're subsidized for COVID, and they're subsidized for other things because they're just a big business, and they're not using those subsidies here in the US. Those subsidies are over there, and they're not getting paid the same wages. And as they train them to do the bulk of the work, they get rid of the people. As you can see in one of the articles, talks about one place here in Illinois lost 400 people,
Yeah.
another place lost 2,000 people. And that's just here in Illinois. So imagine it's taking effect across the nation.
Mm, mm, mm. Yes.
And we need to start looking, because the banks, their fees didn't get any lesser because they
No.
went offshore. The prices and what they charge you to get the products from Target and everybody else didn't get any lesser.
Right.
T-Mobile had it so bad, and so many of us complained that they started letting us know, you need to call. If you call from 7 in the morning to pretty much 7 in the evening, they pretty much guarantee you can talk to someone US based. But if you call outside those time frames, you're going to get an offshore customer service.
That's right.
And they really don't understand. They don't know the product. They don't know the problems that come with the product, nor do they understand troubleshooting.
So
So
you
again,
just
they
wasting
will
your
keep you
time.
on the phone. Yeah, a huge waste of time.
Yes. Yes. I had that experience with T-Mobile, so I can attest to that. But it's amazing. These big banks, Capital One, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup, Hewlett Packard, Stites. This is Converges. I don't know who that is. T-Mobile,
Yeah,
Prudential.
yeah.
Oh my God.
And see, like I said, the problem is they don't understand. They don't know the product, and many a time they can't really effectively answer your question.
And how many this at Capital One, the firm is expected to employ 2,200 new associates in outsourcing in the
Yeah,
Philippines. In the
and,
Philippines.
and look, one of them built a whole company there. They didn't. They have 2,000 employees now, whereas 4 years ago they didn't have anybody over there. So in
Ooh,
2019 they didn't have nothing, and they've already got 2,000. And again, with employing the people, because the unions talk about this all the time, and people want to go out and talk so badly about the union. This is what happens when you don't have something in place to protect your job, because again, Job security is a thing of the past. Nobody's job is safe. No one.
That's true. That's true.
But the sad part of it is they're making money off of us, but we're not making money off of them. It's not being recycled. It's changed. It's changed. Just like that ring for the food chain, and that ring, how they tell you how you spend money, it comes back and it circles
Yeah.
back around, it comes in your community.
Yes.
Now that doesn't happen.
That hasn't happened in
Because
that community
because
for a long time.
right, these people don't live here. They don't work here. They work for a company here. They don't spend money here.
Right.
I mean, they're not even spending money. It's not like they're getting on the line and coming over here doing. And now, mind you, the way some of the call centers used to be done, they closed this one that was up at Narragansett. I was trying to get some information. One of the biggest and longest services. They used to have everybody. They had the National Rifle Association. They had Finger Hut. They had many of the 900 numbers. They had the accounts for many of the telephone companies, because there's Frontier and another one called Horizon something, which is part of Verizon. And they were making money. These people were making money up there. They were open 24 hours a day. They worked nationwide. They're gone now. All of that work that they used to do has been sent offshore.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure each of you can attest to some conversation you've had with somebody at your bank, or maybe your cell phone service. If you got T-Mobile, I know that you've had some interaction with people that are offshore. They can't answer your questions. They just keep you online for a long time, and you be trying. I asked the same question 3 times, and the lady kept giving me a different answer for each. I was, can I speak to a supervisor? She said, no one's available right now. I said to myself, what the heck?
And that's another thing. Their stuff is scripted. So if it's not on that script, they can't give you that answer.
You telling me? Shoot, I figured that one out after about the third time. Welcome to the show, Karen Albina. And welcome to the show, Tax Doctor. And welcome to the show, Miss Lavette Haynes. How are all of you?
How you guys doing?
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
Wonderful. Gracious.
He's having fun today.
Stick with your taxes. Stick with your taxes.
I will.
Oh my goodness.
I tell you.
I enjoy the Tax Doctor.
I'm doing great. My mother took me to the singing school to get singing lessons. And when my mother went to pay the teacher, he said, you can keep your money.
Why? Oh.
Yeah, I'm like Roger Dangerfield. I don't get no respect.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
You should have let Lavette sing, because now when Lavette sings, when she opened her mouth, everybody just close their mouths and listen to the tunes. Welcome to the show, Lavette.
Thank you, Wanda, for that vote of confidence.
I've heard it, so I know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Sandra brought this topic to my attention, and she is just filled with so much. And look, did y'all see the banks that are offshore with their call centers? Capital One, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup. And then here you have Hewlett Packard, Sites, Enterprise, Convergency. What is that? Convergence? Am I saying that right? T-Mobile, Prudential. Oh wow.
Well, we're not even talking about all of the wealthy people that have off-site and offshore banks, and and that's really like just stealing the wealth of America.
Yeah.
They get rewarded for because they're not paying extra money for their money. So their money is just
and look, yes, that's right. They just look at another. It's bad, Levette. It is. It's like you're like you said, we're just giving the money away.
And then that's really generational wealth for their families. That
Yeah,
means that, and they say the worst wealthy person is, well, the worst person is the wealthy person that their money just continues to generate for their families, and they become richer and richer and
right.
become that 1% that has all the wealth and that controls everything. So, but sometimes I think, you don't want to see any kind of stock market crash. But if that so happens, as it did in the 30s, I guess it was the 40s,
2008,
then
2008 also.
their wealth is nothing. So, those that have not, we've known how to survive without it. That's why they were jumping off the Eiffel Tower, not the Eiffel Tower, but wherever they was jumping off in New York, jumping out of them buildings because they had lost all their money. And so, time will tell.
Yep. Yep. Look here. Look at big banks blame automation as they offshore American jobs. Capital One announced in August that they were laying off 400 call center workers, 400 people. But last year, Capital One opened a new customer service and technical support office in the Philippines, creating 2,000 call center jobs. What say you about that? Anybody?
Well, one of the other things I think the sad part of this, when they're talking about them, the fact it would be different if they were opening the jobs and they didn't get rid of the jobs here in the U.S.
Exactly, it would be different. Yes.
It would be very different.
Yes.
But to turn around, as you've seen the numbers that you were calling out, for every job that they've opened over there, they've ended a job here.
Yes.
Now, with regard to automation, I agree with them on one part of the problem with automation and some of the newer workers. They are not familiar with automation. And people say, so what? These kids use these cell phones. Well, using a cell phone is not the same thing as using a database. Okay. Using a cell phone is not the same thing as when you're sitting there and you're doing entry into a computer and pulling information up. And these various databases, many of them are proprietary in nature, meaning that the companies had these built just for the business that they do and want to do. Yeah, right. There's places like Oracle, they have the platforms and that they run the particular software on, and they'll have and there are templates that you have your website engineers and your website developers and stuff. They make these little templates where a company can come in and customize this particular software to meet their needs, or that same manufacturer will turn around and design an app just for that company. Well, then they require people come in and have the knowledge of working with these databases, right, and using these various databases to perform their duties. Unfortunately, many of the young workers and some of those who, again, lost their jobs with COVID, and some of those who lost their job because of automation, this has been occurring all of the 2000s. They never took the time or had the opportunity or maybe even the resources to learn what they needed to learn to be able to reinvent themselves. Right. But I still don't agree that a company like a bank, again, banks get a lot of support from the federal government. I mean, that's something you guys can look up on your own. The banks get a lot of federal dollars. They get a lot of support from the federal government. And even though we call it the federal government, it's called we the people. They It exists for us. We send these people to Congress. We put these people in office. So again, there should be something designed to protect our jobs. Or I didn't lose a job, and I don't know anybody who's lost a job, but I'm saying our because I am a U.S. citizen. We should not be disposable like that when it comes, and then you dispose of us, and you go and you put in the training and efforts, even though they're only doing it as a task, but you put the training and the efforts and the money in another country while we sit here and we have nothing.
Yeah. Look, wow.
They don't even want you to go to college now. They're making it harder, and which Obama did allude to this. They're making it so hard now for you to get ready to go to college. Even the monies and the grants and things that were readily available during the Bush, Clinton, and Obama administration, that stuff is gone. And like I said, they're trying to even get rid of the Department of Education.
They're trying to get rid of the Department of Education.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, maybe they should. They didn't help me.
But you know what? Cut that out. That's not true. They have always helped you. They have always helped you. Cut it out.
Well, you know what? I think that in the form that it's in and the people that are in control, they are destroying. So does it need to be revamped? I'm quite sure there's room for improvement, but people are weaponizing these departments and changing things where it's in chaos. It's in a chaotic state right now. You know, they're banning books. They're taking away Black curriculums. They are destroying teachers' lives. And so it is definitely being turned upside down.
And you know what, Levette, I agree. But that's, again, because we, the constituents, the thing that it always amazes me when people complain about what happens in the federal government. You guys, we're constituents. And I used to tell people that when I worked with the government, we're not only employees, but we're also constituents. We vote these folks in. And what happens when you see something that's not right in one of these federal institutions, it is the responsibility, it's the onus of constituents to speak out and stop it. Because if nobody says anything, the kind of people that they've selected now for leaders, they are not going to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Many of them go into office now with this fear and don't want to make waves. Or they're, again, some cause or some organization has put them there, and they're not there for the people. They're there to serve that cause or serve that organization or that institution. And that needs to stop because these people are voted in. I mean, people keep saying, well, my vote doesn't count. Yeah, it does. But when you don't vote, you're right, it don't count because there's nothing to count.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, okay. So as you can see, Wells Fargo is one of the culprits. They laid off hundreds of employees at a call center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and shifted those jobs to the Philippines. Anybody know about that? And then let's see. Offshore call centers isn't just a threat to workers. This trend also presents a problem for American consumers. Poorly paid center employees in the Philippines and India have a few opportunities for advancement. Oh, so they're probably getting paid less than what we would be getting paid here, and that's why they want to shift those jobs there.
Exactly. It's the same thing like with Zenith and what is it with Zenith and Magnavox. And because remember those big TV companies went down to Mexico. Remember that when we were young adults? Remember that?
Yeah.
That you're looking at the same thing for cheaper labor. But again, like they said, they're taskers. They're never going to get the promotion of, because like I said, they don't teach them the word supervisor. They don't even know what a supervisor is.
Right.
They have to go get somebody else to try to do the translation to find out what it is we're asking for. So people are called escalation experts, And when you say that, then they have to go to another person who that person then determines whether or not to try to transfer the call to the escalation expert while you're still on the phone just trying to get your question answered or get your business handled or get your account fixed. Because they're still running out here. I mean, I feel sorry for them because I can imagine, it seems like they're trying to do a good job because many of these people, they're impoverished. So this was an opportunity for them. Now they're getting some money to pay their bills, buy some food or whatever, and they want to keep their job same as we did when we were doing this. But what happens now? They're scurrying around and they don't even realize or know anything about what we consider good or bad customer service. They don't understand our culture or what's acceptable or unacceptable to us.
They're in the Philippines. They don't know.
It's the Philippines or India.
Or India. That's right. That's right. That's true. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I see Abina got her hand up. Yes, ma'am. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandra. I don't know if anyone remembers Michael Moore, but Michael Moore, he spotted this years ago. This is no different than the systematic pipeline from school to jail for children. That this thing has been going on so long. There's a movie called, I can't remember it, but George Clooney, where they were just laying off people, laying off high executives. I mean, our system, this is the whole Enron thing. It's been going on for so long. You drink a little bit of arsenic every day, you be immune to poison. You don't even know what's happening because it's happening to people around you, but it might not be you, and so it's an amazing thing. It makes me want to cry because it's so heartbreaking that I know my stepmother. She was this woman knew the first. This woman they had their house for 67 years and they didn't lose the house, but she got caught up in that Enron stuff, and it messed her up so bad until she went. It was they told her she had Alzheimer's. And I knew if she didn't have Alzheimer's, this woman was just pissed because she did everything right. See, it's something when you are one of them people who have followed all the rules.
Right.
And followed all the rules and you trust it. And then all of a sudden you go to your bank account and these folks done took your money, because they done invested it and lost it or did whatever they can. And then you're standing there trying to figure out, well, what's been going on? Because that money is what she depended on as a way of life. So it's something getting in the game is where we are right now. Getting our kids in the game. I think it's an intellectual war. We have to think about it, in regards to. It's one last thing I want to say. If you all remember that song by the OJs called Money, 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 Money.
Yeah.
Back then, he said what did they say? It was only 15 families that control the whole world. So I knew people they Jay-Z and them, they got a lot of money, but that's new money. This old money was controlling us.
Yes.
So it is, but we're gonna be all right because we done it.
They can't get rid of us. We've been here and we're gonna be here. Any other comments? All right then. Let's move on to the next topic, which is, let's see, COVID. Let's see what we got on COVID. Yes, here we go. So have you all heard about the new strand that's out?
No, what's that?
It's a new strand out now. I did find that information somewhere, but and when you got your COVID shot, did you take that booster in the same arm? Because that seems to be an issue.
No. And to be honest with you, whenever people, well, for example, well, let me just say this. Somebody who took the first COVID shot, would it surprise you that they may still have like a lingering effect in that shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Well, no, because similar to what you're saying is what they're saying. They're saying just that, not an adverse effect, but they are saying that, and that's what they're saying that they've noticed, and it came out of Germany. Their scientists discovered it first, that those who got the vaccine in the same arm, they also said that they felt that the vaccine was better and disseminated to the body better. And they said there was 65, it showed a 65% level for those who got it in the same arm, and only 45% for those who got them in different arms.
Mm.
So that's why they were saying it seems to be, well, again, we have to think back and go back to vaccinations when we were kids. I got the smallpox vaccination. Who am I talking to on here that got that? Do you guys remember if you got that or not?
Smallpox. I'm trying to remember.
You should have gotten, especially
I
those that
probably
were
It
got it.
wasn't smallpox, it was chicken pox. That's
no
what
no
we
no no
got.
no no no
Chickenpox.
no no
I didn't get
no
smallpox.
no no no. It was a smallpox vaccination, and you can look it up. And it was a smallpox, and what it did, it actually, you have a little scar on your left arm because they gave them in the left arm. You have a little scar above that shows where you got that. It actually, those of us who received that vaccine when we were kids, we were actually, they had a series of situations where they had something that was smallpox like. They gave smallpox, and this was all in the 90s. They wound up giving it to the military members again, those who had not been vaccinated. But for those who had been vaccinated, they discovered that they already had a resistance to it. Now, when it came to the measles, mumps, and rubella, which is chickenpox, is rubella. Yes, those of us who got those, again, we did not get it and probably wouldn't have gotten it again. But now they're telling us that shingles, which is chickenpox, if you didn't get it as a kid, and sometimes they're saying now, even if you had it as a kid, you may still need to do something to suppress it. But they've come back. What they're saying now for this vaccine with COVID is very similar for what they were saying for those vaccines, and what has held true over the decades for some of those older vaccines. And I thought, with everything that was going on, I found it, me and several other friends, some of them were doctors, other ones, again, depending on your age, if you even got, and a couple of military members, because again, they knew that once you got this vaccine, you were going to be covered for a very long time with it, you know. And now they're coming out saying this is now holding true. And the new variant for COVID is I just looked at that. I was going to tell Brian, it's got a new number, EG.5.
That's right.
Right. And they're called, or ERIS.
Right. That's right.
That's the new one that they've got out.
Right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. So, any discussion on
if you believe in it or whether you think it's far-fetched? That's what we were saying. Do you believe in this, or do you think this is really kind of far-fetched?
That's a question, guys.
Aren't we dealing with the fact that this is now the 21st century, and when we were, this is the first time, because this has been a worldwide thing, this COVID-19. But we never complained about the vaccines in the past, like you said, when we had smallpox, or when it was demanded, because I know I had every shot that they would give you, or they said we needed to have as a child because they had the right to do it. My mother allowed it. So but now, how much is engineered by humanity. Some human being has the power to engineer these type of events that happens to so many people. Is something to think about. But it was interesting to me that Pfizer came out of Germany and Moderna comes from the United States. And it's like, for me, I'm just down for the United States, period. This is where I live. This is where I love. This is what I know. I don't know any other country. even though I know that there's challenges with us in other countries, but we are still the USA. So I got the booster. I didn't get this fourth booster because now I don't know. It's almost like I feel like I have to follow the government. You know.
And I think that's unfortunate that we have to live in fear, because it's sort of like, I'll be damned if I do or damned if I don't, right? But they just came out with the fact that the National Institute of Health took $400 million from Pfizer. Moderna gave another institute almost the same amount of money. And that is so that they can sway their opinions. And unfortunately, um, the the result of myocarditis is not being discussed, and a lot of people, young people in particular, are just having heart failure. And so you can't say, oh well, heart failure is a normal thing. No, myocarditis is real, and I think that a lot of the drugs, that a lot of the vaccines were not vetted properly. I work for the Department of Medicine at UIC, and every week or however often it came, I would read the medical journal, and that's when I learned that in order to introduce a vaccine um, to the community or to society, it has to go through a 20-year vetting process. These things were done overnight, and most of the clinical trials were done on white people. And so we, just as a lot of drugs that Black people are taking, we never went through clinical trials to vet those drugs. That's why, you'll take a drug like amlodipine. It swells your ankles up, and more than likely, that drug was not vetted for us. And so we are guinea pigs in this society. And so my recommendation is that we try to figure out how to become more conscious of alternatives, natural alternatives. Sometimes people give up on herbs because it is a long process. Like, you just can't take a herb today and then think it's gonna work. It's long term, and people sort of give up on the herbs, quite frequently. But in the Bible, back in the day, back in the biblical times, that's all they had, and the stuff worked. you know they've just got a lot of drugs that might be fast acting, but then you come down the pipeline and it's some kind of side effect. So we just got to be more conscious of what that drug is doing, understand its effect on your body as you're experiencing it.
Yes.
Because I know my mom, she's going through her health journey. But when my mother they would give my mother a drug, and she would say, "Oh, this is making me feel weird," and she would call her primary care physician and say, "I don't like this, is making me woozy, or this." So she had that conversation, and they was like, "Well, Miss Odessa, we're gonna, either lower the dose, up the dose, or give you something different." Most people, they'll just say, "I feel sick," and they don't question the doctor, see if there's another alternative, see if there's a generic that might be better. So it's a lot of questions and answers that need to happen as we continue to take these experimental drugs. Just one other thing, I worked for the Department of General Internal Medicine at UIC. And the pharmaceutical companies would actually send the director of the department drugs to use. And then it was like, well, you know what, you use these and let us know what, the data says about them. and then they would give him a stipend, to write him a check. And so the pharmaceutical companies, I'm not saying all of them, but there's a lot of corruption, and it is at our sacrifice.
Okay.
Also with senior citizens, Lavette. Senior citizens, my mother died with over 30 medications. What killed her was the medications. She lost her kidney, because she was a strong woman. She died at 72. And she really didn't understand why she couldn't get herself back together. But those medications is what did it, And I remember being in the hospital once, and this doctor wanted to do surgery on her. And I simply asked him what the surgery was about. Why did he want to do it? Just explain to me. And the man, and I mean, he's an African American man. It's in Oak Park Hospital. He told me, he said, "Do you know who I am?"
What?
That's what he said.
How
And
dare you ask me?
he said that. That's right. He said that, and my son heard him. Now that's his grandmother.
Right.
So he came at him and he told him. He said, "Do you hear yourself?" So he was getting ready to get his ass handed to him. And so he just walked away. There was no surgery, but it was going to be just a what do you call it, Lavette? Just again, she was just going to be a guinea pig for this guy.
Exploratory surgery. Exploratory
Mm-hmm.
surgery. I
Well,
wouldn't
Yeah.
have no surgery on my senior parents because, I mean, if you've already lived how many ever years you've lived, and when they open you up, man, what's the chance of you being able to recover? I tell my sons and daughters every day, if I become debilitated, I don't want surgery. Sandra, you have your hand up.
No, I was responding to what Karen was talking about when that doctor. Many of them, and it's unfortunate, they do play God, and they're not. And again, that just shows you what a piss poor doctor he was. Because how dare he speak to you like that? Because you have every right to ask him what kind of surgery your mother was going under. Wanda and I actually served in the medical field together many, many, many moons ago. And we got a chance to see the arrogance as well as the ignorance that some of those doctors genuinely had. So I'm kind of a case by case basis with it. It depends on what it is they're talking about. And again, similar to what I'm sure Lizette has had to do, you have to research what it is they're talking about giving your parent, and then you have to weigh the options. If is this a good option? Is this going to make it worse? And if they can't give you definitive answers, by all means, no, don't let your parent and don't let yourself be a guinea pig.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. I just want to take I want to take a minute to welcome Gina and to welcome Lawanza to the show. I just want to say, you guys, we've been talking about a variety of things, and right now we're discussing the issues with I guess the medication and
the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, whether it's more effective in one arm and another. And then like they even question the effectiveness of many of the drugs that they put out. And the fact that, again, that one person can now, or a group of people can put out something that pretty much can wipe out most of the world if they want to.
Yeah, they can. They can. So either of you have a comment regarding that topic? The floor is open to you.
Well, this particular subject topic is, close to my heart. As you well know, a couple months I laid my dear mother to rest, who I've been taking care of for 5 years. She had a surgery. Don't go to St. Francis Hospital in Evanston. I begged her not to do it. I had a chance to stop her from doing it, and I didn't. And she had back surgery. She didn't need it. And she just pulled a muscle back there, just needed rehab. It caused her to have strokes, all sort of thing. I didn't know that she had Parkinson's disease. I began to see, other type of behavior, being exhibited. Somebody's doing something. And anyway, I took her around and discovered that she had Parkinson's disease. Had I known she had that, I would have ruled that and could have ruled out that surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's just mind-boggling. Mama and the medication she took, carbidopa, levodopa, that's what they use for Parkinson's disease. In itself creates a neurological condition that ultimately leads to a person's demise. You're talking about COVID, and vaccines. I was hired by Chicago Department of Public Health back in 2014 to work at the Illinois Department of Public Health down in Springfield, as you know. I'm the one who built a vaccine registry for kids called iCare. That's the Illinois Comprehensive Automated Immunization Registry for the entire city of Chicago. Laurie's Church and Hospital, La Rabida, University of Commerce, Ed. They use that to order vaccines from CDC. The government has a program called VFC Vaccine for Children. It's federally mandated that all states have some form of vaccine registry to ward off so-called childhood diseases. See, now you see how these vaccines and these programs from the cradle to grave, is financed by the federal government. This is where I'm bringing all this up. See.
Cradle to the grave. That's that concept. I won't forget that one. Thank you. Let's give Gina a chance to make a comment. Gina, what about you? Gina? Okay. So
I just unmuted myself.
Okay.
I've been on the phone, for about the last 45 minutes. I came in a few minutes late and just listening to the conversation. I just have such mixed feelings about how the government puts such fear into us.
Yeah.
And we react to it. We don't take a step back. Oh, and I remember when the COVID vaccine came out and people that I know, man, they were running and jumping, in my age, running and jumping to go take it, not really thinking about it, only saying that whatever it takes for me to live longer, I'm going to go ahead and do it, thinking that the COVID would be, it was like it would be fatal had you as you were contacted. And people, how the government just puts such fear into us. My God, it's so scary. And we don't take the time out to really think about it, to really research it. We just jump right in and say, okay. And when you look at the commercials, every time I look around, there's a new disease, something new I've never heard of before. And they have a vaccine for it. And it's like, man, I've never heard of that before. And is that because we are so inclined to have doctors and stuff create new diseases and things that are happening? I can't even pronounce some of the things that are happening to us. And then they turn around and say, after they tell you this medication you should administer, then they tell you all the side effects. And the one that just really gasses me is it affects your liver. My God, why would I want to take something
that affects my liver?
Will affect my liver in order to help whatever my health issue is. And that was the thing that my sister, who has just recently passed away, she went through a lot. Medications, and then one medication, because she had her kidney removed because she had kidney cancer, right? So she had a kidney removed, and then she was taking medication, and she had got to the point that before breakfast she would be nauseous. So she would take this medication so she wouldn't be nauseous. Then the doctor says, well, we've got to take you off that medication because it might trigger some other health issue. So now she now cannot take that because it would trigger something else. And it's like, oh my God, it's just now, what do you do in a case like that? And it was just one thing after another, medication, and this wasn't working. So now they're going to see how do you get more of a dosage or less of a dosage, you know.
Yeah.
She had a brain aneurysm. She went through all of that, you know. Then finally, the end was she had pancreatic cancer, and that's what took her out, you
Oh,
know, a matter of a few days. So all of these things, you know, medication. And I just think that we need to be more astute and research more. And just like us being guinea pigs, that's the main thing that I do. I just think that they just take us, especially our African American community, they just take us as guinea pigs because, as Lavette had indicated, a lot of these medications is not meant for us, you know,
right.
and they use us as guinea pigs to say, oh, it's meant for more for the non-white, I mean, the non-color, but it's not really meant for us. And I don't know, maybe that's why we have blood pressure. And then we turn around and we eat the stuff that we shouldn't be eating and doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. And they telling us that this is what you should do. But in essence, 6 months later, they're going to tell you, well, you shouldn't do that now.
Yeah.
No, it's because now that's not good for you. And it's just so confusing. It's
It
just
is.
so confusing. So just take a step back and see, you know, you just have to take a step back and listen to your body
Yes.
and do what you should do with your body. And sometimes what we're all involved in are the quick fixes.
Yeah.
We're
That's
looking for when you take herbs, when you do herbs as a alternative, it's not something that fixes overnight. It
right.
takes time for it to really, you know, in to induce it. It takes time because it takes time for a herb to grow.
Yeah.
Planting, it takes time for things to happen. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
And that's what we've gotten into, even with social media. It's a quick fix to get a response. When you want to know something, you Google it. It's
Yeah.
a quick, you know, you get a quick answer. Somebody asks you a question. The first thing they do is look it up and you've got the answer.
Yeah.
Everything is so, it's got to be spontaneous. It's got to be done right now. And we're microwave. Worst thing we could be doing now is having whatever those rays are. It's a quick way to eat processed food.
Yeah.
You know, go figure. So that's just my soap opera presentation.
We appreciate it. We want to hear from everybody because everybody's opinion counts. We're all in this together, folks. I see Luanza's put something in the
Yeah, I want
chat.
to kind of, speak on that, and before I kind of give you a prelude to these things, you know, I'm only saying this because I used to work as a chemical technician and a chemist, for years in industry, and this is what we need to be aware of. One of the main reasons why they push these drugs on us, in like the lady before me, these quick fixes. It takes a while to do herbal, homeopathic. You know, they're not even giving us the natural stuff. They're giving us synthetic. Because you know what?
Right.
Most, well, if not all, practically generic or synthetic medications are derivatives of or synthesized from petroleum distillates from crude oil, that they get from overseas. So there's a symbiotic relationship between the pharmaceutical industry and pharma and the oil industry. And that leads to
Oh, yes. Okay, go ahead.
okay, and so so they're in bed together. They're the main ones who provide the funding for the elected officials. Okay, over there in Washington, right? Now, if you look in your chat, what I wanted to share with everybody is this guy named Nave Emery. He's a Jewish cat, deals about alternative information. Talked about COVID and the DARPA program. The DARPA program is the one, financed by United States military. We all know about Fort Detrick, Maryland. They go back to the AIDS. Well, under the DARPA program, the United States military had been providing funding, research funding, 20 million to Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, 8-10 years before the outbreak of COVID. Did you know that?
That's another show. That is another
The RNA research or RNA, the way, under the SACs, I worked in the laboratory and I used to work with these autoclaves. You would get a bunch of virulent viruses and you put it in an autoclave. Anybody's working in the hospital, it's a container, a vessel, and it's got a real thick wall and you can control the pressure and the temperature and what you put in there and do reactions and all kind of stuff. Well, they put live viruses in there and they heat it up and kill it and they introduce it to the host where your immune system is going to produce a response, whether it's dead or alive, because it sees it and it has a fingerprint and you respond with a defense, to handle that. Well, this time, instead of they took the RNA. That's all a virus has in is a ribonucleic acid. It has RNA inside of it. Okay. And they took it out of the shield, the protein shield that's inside of that the virus covers it up in, and that's what they directly inject in you when you have this COVID vaccine. Well, okay. And so they have been doing research on this 8-9 years before and I had worked with some people from Wuhan when I was at IIT as a chemical technician in their research department. I was working, not as a student, working. And racist as hell he was, he was from Wuhan, that's one of the main research centers, probably the top one. And anyway, yeah, the United States government have been doing this. Now, all of a sudden we give this COVID, and do you know how much money has been made?
I hold that thought. That's a next discussion.
That's all I got to say.
You hold that because you bring them some real stuff that we need to talk about. People need to know. But right now, we're at the close of this show. I want to thank each of you for participating. And LaWanza, let's talk afterwards. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. And
good night, everyone.
We will come back with something on.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for your
Good night,
shares.
everyone.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.